say this, but Jupiter with Uranus is massively affecting you and your manifestation. It's making things that were impossible possible. And also, if you're in the wrong side of it, things that you didn't want to happen. Now, this is happening right now. And we've had three of our most profound days since Friday ever in the entire history of Human Garage. And we're going to be talking with Chris Witecki about why that is. So buckle up, put a comment down there, put in your moon, your sun, your moon, and your rising, and put down how you're feeling. Has manifestation been affecting you dramatically today? Let us know. Serious Joy, my close personal friend, and the man who's literally transformed my way of seeing the world and helped me become the man you see standing in front of you today. Christopher with
Hey,
Witecki.
hello, sir. How are you today?
Oh
Welcome
man,
to the
I tell
party.
you, I
What are you
feel it.
feeling? You
I
feel, yeah,
mean,
it's intense, isn't it?
yeah, well, listen, honestly, from a business perspective, we've had more happen in 3 days. Our biggest years in impact and in resources, gathering resources and impact. Our biggest 3 days ever in the history have been since Friday.
Mm.
And not much has changed in our physical delivery of things. So it's not like it's an accident that happened. It's like a wave is coming in and saying, we're going to put all the guns behind you right now.
I, I think that's Jupiter conjunct Uranus. I mean,
That's
if
what I
I,
said. I said, I never
yeah.
thought years ago I'd say Jupiter conjuncting Uranus, my anus, um, would have this effect. I mean, it is profound what's happening, and this is going to be happening to everybody, right?
Yes, the last time this happened was in World War II. This is the boom that like made, women go into factories and build tanks 24 hours a day. It's that same industrious energy of Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. So I think really everything is going to grow like wildfire. Anything you've set up metaphysically correctly. So, setting things up correctly, which I think you have correctly, meaning that your own baggage is not involved in it, those types of things. I think it's just going to grow. It's like Jupiter and Uranus is like miracle grow being poured on everything. And that includes disease. So, like, if people are indulging in dark stuff, it's going to grow out of control too. Everything's going to grow.
Good or
Everything.
bad?
Good or
Weeds,
bad.
weeds, weeds or plants.
Weeds or plants, exactly. Yeah. And so issues too.
So this
Yeah.
this is where we talk about Earth 2 and Earth 3. This
Yep.
is what makes it happen. Earth
This is,
3
yeah.
is like I have all this goodness coming and all these things happening. I can't even believe the support that we've gotten over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I see these people on the other side. I mean, I could see them, I could touch them, and I can't believe all the shit that's happening to them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Stuff. Well, so if you've had something festering or, something that you've been ignoring, it's going to grow out of control too. I think everything grows. I learned that the last Jupiter in Taurus, actually. That if you have a disease or something, it can grow out of control in this Jupiter energy too. But and this is it just keeps growing from here too, by the way. So this is a huge launch. This whole year is a launch for all. I think what we're launching are new era businesses, new era technologies such as AI, for instance.
Yeah,
But I also feel Pluto and Aquarius is there's a strong building of community right now too.
yeah,
Huge,
yeah.
huge build of community. And I'm seeing it everywhere. I don't know if I've told you this already, but my sister-in-law like went to a yoga retreat and she said everybody was just so connected. And I went to an event, like people are, it feels kind of like what I imagine the 60s would be like,
Yeah.
hearing my mom talking about how cool everyone was with each other. So it's, you know, which is rare.
How cool everyone was with each other.
Pretty much, yeah. Because
Yeah, it's like body language. We got it.
yeah, totally. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, that we haven't been getting along. I think we're at a point now where Earth, what I'm seeing is Earth's going to come together, and it might come together around dark arts. It might come together around like evil intentions. I mean, so I think people are going to find their tribe, whatever that happens to be, at this moment. So it's about creating, it's creating a new world, and a new culture at the same time, I believe.
Yeah. So,
which is what
so there.
you're seeing happen with
So
Jupiter and Uranus. Culture is Jupiter and
I
Uranus is
just
world.
scratching my head because last year at the exact same step number we had the biggest like sales day when we were like on the verge of trying to figure out how to do this, and we were looking for help, and we had supplements that were trickling along and stuff like that. We just got this blip that was literally 10 times our normal revenue, which gave us a belief that we could go a step further. Like when the year before that is when we got the $50,000 donation. Last year, we got a $175,000 donation at that time too. And it was like, oh, people believe in us. We can go further.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Totally. And it's time. I even think I'm shifting my thinking from can go further to it's time. Like, you know what I mean? Like I found in myself, part of my shifting in my grand I am is that like I am no longer doubting or even putting in that cautionary language. Like it's like, well, we hope it's going to sell. Those types of cautionary languages where you're like, especially for us astrologers, we're always like, we don't want to predict something and be wrong and be wrong. So we tend to not predict. We're kind of like, let's look at this way, let's look at that way, because you never know. We always find that out too. But with myself, I've always been the same way, where it's just like, it's going to be a hit. We hope it's going to be a hit. I would put in stuff like we hope. Now I'm like, crap. Let's just go for the full magic. I'd rather look like a jackass and land on my face than hold myself back at this moment.
I mean, I get that. I mean, when back in 2019, I said something's going to happen January 2020, and January 15th, and I need to be out, and I'm getting rid of my practice. I'm gone. And that was, and then saying that I was taking that bold step of predicting. I think it was basically being confident with my decision. And I remember talking to you about it. Like, I remember talking back and forth, and it's like, no, it just feels like this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about it. Is that the energy that people need to have right now, and or want to have that manifestation? Like, what if I'm saying, okay, I feel like this is what's going to happen, but I have that cautionary or that non bold language. Is that Are those two things playing against each other?
I think they can. I think it's a psychological position with yourself that changes the timeline, right? So for me, what I'm talking about is like um I've always been worried something could go wrong, and that's been in my
Yeah.
energy. That's been in my field. And I've always, just to save face, have always had a disclaimer, but things can go wrong. There's always been a disclaimer. There's always been like some sort of like, like fine print at the bottom. And now I'm saying I'm going balls out. Pardon the expression, ladies. It's like no disclaimers. I'm not going to be foolish. I'm not doing anything crazy, but I'm no longer even considering the possibility of not succeeding. It's not even
Right.
it's not an
Yeah.
option anymore.
Yeah. I think I really feel that. I mean, last year there was still a worry because for me, succeeding, like a lot of people have succeeding is, I guess it's a lot of the motive behind succeeding. Well, like for me, succeeding was this mission that we're bringing to the world that I know that I was meant to be here to do. And and in past, succeeding meant, a company or money. It was very mechanically driven, and it was also very selfishly driven too. So
Hmm.
I feel like succeeding now is a very different way of even communicating what we're doing.
Succeeding for me has always been very selfish and personal. Like, I wanted to achieve this in this life, period. Like, I knew what I wanted to achieve. I always knew I wanted to achieve. I knew I've always been the thing in the way in past lives, that I was the problem. And so the goal was get me out of the way of me and let me finally get this thing that I want to manifest on earth. For me, it's like sandbox stuff. I think that part of coming down to earth is it's like playing in a sandbox. We create these things. This is the Taurus in me. We build these cool things. And eventually, over lifetimes, it gets washed over and washed away. It's just fun to build in the sandbox. So for me, success is I want to build this castle this lifetime in the sandbox. And yes, people will like it, of course, but it's really for me. It's what I want to see, what I've done with my. And in the past, I wasn't quite 100% sure I was going to be able to build the sandbox.
Right.
And
Right.
I wasn't 100% sure. I just wasn't. And it was mostly my trauma. As it turns out, that was my trauma. Like if you put a gun to my head, I'd be like, yes, yes, I'm the shit. I am. I swear I am. I really am. I'm amazing. You can't believe how incredible I am. Like, but if there wasn't that pressure to like call that race, I'd be like, well, we're hoping, we're playing, like that's what's gone for me since the eclipse. The eclipse for me erased that part of me that was just like, now I'm like, nope, I'm going to pull it off. In fact, let's talk about pulling it off now. Let's quit talking about if or not. The other curveball too was the pandemic. I was
Yeah.
like, when that happened, I'm like, oh shift. I never thought someone would steal the football and totally cheat. Oh, I was expecting a fair fight here. Damn it. So that really threw me for a minute. Like, well, maybe I won't get what I want because some bastard stole the basketball or like took, like shit. Like, so there was that part too for a moment where I was like, but then after all that happened, I'm like, oh, no, no, no. Those wizards are super young wizards and they don't even know what they're doing. Move over, gentlemen. We've got shit to do. Like, so now I've shifted again. So there was also a worldly concern I had for a while that the world wouldn't let me. But then I was like, no, no, this is God's playing field. You're not telling me what to do. I know how it works with God.
I feel
So
like I think
there was that wake up.
that's the my 28. I feel that that's my 28-degree Pisces, but I don't even know what my Lilith is, but
You're
I have no
what?
idea. My
I'm not,
Lilith.
I don't have a handy right now, but
Yeah, but that's
I'll
my
scare you
28-degree
later.
Pisces. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
I almost got there and I failed.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, that has your Chiron. You're talking about Chiron, and
Yeah,
everyone has to live their Chiron. You have to relive your Chiron. You have to. In
yeah.
fact, I often now in readings are like, "Has your business failed yet?" And they're like, "No, no, no." I'm like, "Oh no, oh no, it's gonna, it's gonna
No,
fail. It has
so
to fail."
the thing is, if you're getting a reading with Chris and he asks you that, it's like,
Yeah. Like, uh-oh. Well, yeah, and someone just wrote nothing is fail. No, there is such a thing as fail. Like, I mean, the truth of the matter is like failure is your inability to psychologically and spiritually cope with not getting what you want.
yeah, failure is the
Failure
goal
is
didn't
something,
hit. What I do after the failure is the learning lesson, and
right.
yeah, and it's like because I'll tell you, like when I closed the clinic, I had my closest friend in the world is Dan Lissick.
Uh-huh.
He's like, I come back to Vancouver, and he throw jabs once in a while because he's been on that journey for me. Like he's been on this journey helping me, express my visions to the world for 25 years. And he goes, "Well, man, it's just too bad that the clinic failed. It's too bad that it failed. The regret failed." And I'm like, "It didn't fail. Well, it's too bad it failed. It didn't fail. It wasn't supposed to work. I was trying to. That was using that as a lesson. I was trying to figure out what to do, and and that's the whole thing because it's also the perception of the people around, and that's I think what you're saying is like, yes, something may not happen, but the failure is not learning from it, not responding to it.
Yeah, and failure is a form of trauma that we put ourselves under when we call ourselves a failure or we fear failure. Yes, indeed, there's no such thing as failure because this is a sandbox and none of it really is real anyways. We go back home when we die.
Yeah,
You can't fail in a fantasy. You can't fail in an illusion. There's no
but the
failing in that
business could
sense.
fail. The business itself could fail, but the business was part of the experience. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that there is a trauma called
Yeah,
failure. A
yeah,
trauma.
yeah.
It's a trauma, like incest is a trauma or rape or any other things that are
Got
really
it.
hard to a human being.
Got it.
It's a trauma, and even if you don't really get trauma, we're all culturally planned to have trauma. So
Yeah.
that's what Dan was doing. Like, well, you must be traumatized. It's failure. Like he was like
Yeah,
insisting there must be trauma, and you're like, there's no trauma, man. I'm cool. I'm saying
yeah,
we have to deal with the trauma of failure, like fear, like these other and we have to have a game plan for how to deal with failure. So you have to fail at least once in your life because it's the consciousness of the trauma of the failure that you're learning to overcome. It doesn't
yeah. That's
really matter that you failed in the world. No one cares.
yeah, yeah. That that's I've certainly learned that. The only one that really cares is me,
Right.
and but because it is funny. It's like everybody will be there to yell at your failure, And then when you succeed, they're like, "Oh my God, it's like you're so lucky. You've been doing this." I'm like, "Yeah, you missed the previous 15
All
years."
the failures, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I always think it's just another. I mean, for me, I'm always trying to. I don't even look at. I really don't look at things as failure, but I do worry about public opinion. How does that look to others? Will I lose credibility? Will people not? Will people not realize how gifted I am? Will they not
listen, that
realize that I can pull a magic wand out of my, and make magic? So there's the concern that they won't realize that I can recover, even as looks as bad as it does. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
there's
how
that
people
too.
will perceive. I mean, that's actually that's not with my teeth. That was what I was shaking in my pants at one point about 18 months ago, saying, "Will people believe me on this mission
Right.
if that is?" I'm like I was fat, and people still came in into
Right.
a health program. The point is
So
that
own.
and I've had this a lot in my life because I was a bodybuilder. People want to measure you in transition, and that's really what it is. Because I guess that comes down to is where's the measurement? Do we measure it here or do we measure it here? Because here it might look like a failure, but over here it didn't.
It's all perspective, right? Which is basically how they trick scientific studies. You just described how they trick scientific studies right there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because I always say to people that there's a flow of energy in the universe, and there is no time. Time is a construct of man. It's created by us.
Yep.
So if we put a beginning and end to something, we measure it. A measurement is by default a judgment, and judgment
Yes,
has to
yes.
create a reciprocal action from the universe. So every time I get on the scale and measure, I have an action. Every time I look at the mirror, measure, I have an action coming back. Every
Mhm.
time, which is seems contrary to, let's say, business, where you measure all the time. The biggest the biggest success principle that I've engaged in is in the business of bringing this out to the world is I stopped measuring.
Mhm. Yeah, you don't count your pennies.
I don't count anything. I know that it's going to happen, and when it happens is when it starts to happen is when I've done the work internally, not when I've done the work externally. Because I've done lots of work in businesses and things in my life externally and not had results. But and I even in my physical body, when I have a perception shift, internal work, then my body changes. I'm going through one right now. I just had a
Hmm.
perception shift last couple of days, and my body is now starting to transform and morph again.
Hmm. Hmm. Mine is too. I've had perception shifts. I've major perception shifts about a week now,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, it's about a week.
Yes,
Yeah, it's exactly
that's
what
what happened. It was an after, and I
was
do
that.
feel like I have
The
another timeline.
was that the that was of the eclipse, right?
Uh, Um, it was after the eclipse. It took about 4 days. Step 22. It was
Friday.
step 20. It was
Oh
step
yeah, yeah, yeah.
23,
Yeah,
and
Friday,
it
Saturday.
might have changed on 22, but my mind just didn't catch it till 23. Like it might have been
Fair
like
statement.
sometimes that's it. Sometimes it's like it happens, and you're like, oh shit, it happened. Like and you don't realize it till another day
It's
or
funny.
step.
The universe was talking to me on 22. I remember talking to you about it. It was like on step 22 because I think we talked on 23. Maybe I can't remember, but the universe is talking to me on step 22. I mean, even these numbers up here jumped and doubled on 22. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Why
Oh,
did that happen?
just that is interesting. Yeah, I'm always curious on that. The scientist to me is always looking at step numbers and activity. How
Yeah.
the hive is,
So,
behaving.
so you're right. Self worth has come up. Now, it's
Mm,
funny for me. I feel it differently because I don't feel the self-worth. Am I good enough to do this or be in this business or do this? It comes in a very, very different way, sneaky, but very, very soft. The self-worth issues are more, and there, it's like it's a light conversation ahead. Do you believe it's going to work?
do I believe
That's where
it's
I get,
uh,
yeah, because I've
that's
tied my like I'm doing the right things, so things work out.
right, right, right,
So
right,
it's
right. That's the old system.
sneakily came back in just a little bit this week.
Oh, got you. Yeah, I do believe that what we're doing this week is we are stepping into our new self worth. So Jupiter moved through the first decan of Taurus since May of last year till now. And so that was the education. So you were educated why you were worth more in the last year. The universe showed you here's why, here's why, here's why, here's why. And so now that the sun is coming into Taurus, God is saying, okay, put on the suit. And I think what's happening is it's like we're putting it on, we're like, oh shit, my elbow's still arguing with this. And so we're realizing there's parts of us still caught, little filaments of our consciousness still underestimating, or a lot of times if you're a problem solver, you just solve problems. You don't even realize you built around a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
just been funny. Like I've always just
Totally.
been funny to compensate for my self worth. I'll be funny. Like, and so, realize like, oh, it's funny as hell last night. It's like, oh, because your self worth was in the toilet. Like, so, you realize, I think too, where you have built around those inadequacies. And so that's sometimes part of the discovery.
So, um, so coming up this week, what does it look like? I mean, I feel like we got the moon tomorrow. I feel like this
We
is
got
a
a full
week.
moon. We got to talk about the full moon. Yeah.
Yeah.
The full moon is huge. I mean, actually, so you're on the topic already, actually, Gary. So the self worth and and feeling this new self worth. What the full moon is about is that somewhere in yourself, you're on the wrong side of yourself. You're taking
Hmm.
the victim side, or you're taking the abandonment side, or you're taking the why me God. There's some sort of side you're taking with yourself, says the full moon in Scorpio. And that side you're taking with yourself served a purpose for a long time. So it's not like you're wrong. It's that it's gone. It's that it's changing now. So the full moon is going to reveal, because you always take this side with yourself, it dampens your self worth. That's what the full
Right.
moon is. That you are actually dampening your self worth when you take that side with yourself. So, really, between now and the full moon apex, which is tomorrow night, you're going to end up tripping over yourself somewhere and realize where you've been on the wrong side of yourself, which is keeping you in a box or keeping you from thriving. And the thing is that Jupiter, here's the thing, you are a living expression of the astrology, Gary, because the Jupiter Uranus conjunction at 21 is saying, I got good things for you, man. We got a whole new world. We're ready to do it. Let's do it. And the individual has to go inside themselves and go like, do I have this in me? Can I pull this off? Like, that's basically, I think, the moment. Do I have the chutzpah or the self-worth to pull this off? And we know we do, but we have to actually live there, right? Which means we have to end certain habits or attitudes or prejudice with ourself that's keeping us in that lower self-worth.
So
And it might
that's
just be
what.
a readiness
So
too.
that's coming into tomorrow night. So
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, and then tomorrow's a step forward A, which is I belong to this, which is going to amplify it even more, right?
Oh, it's a bitch slap. I mean, it's a pardon me for using the word bitch. Someone pointed out to me, it's like, okay, it's a it's a mean slap.
Well,
But yeah.
I should just tell them that you're Portuguese speaking English. Beach.
Okay.
That's how they
Beach,
say
yeah.
beach.
So the beach. So yeah, the full moon in Scorpio it hits step 4, so it is a wake up call. So for some people, it might be a real wake up call. It could be a moment like Emperor has no clothes, where you realize you have been just totally deceiving yourself. So like, depending on how much in the dark you are in life, how much of a surprise it is. Usually for me, it was something that's right under my feet and I never saw it. That's
Yeah.
usually the realization, like, oh my God, it's been here the whole time. Oh my God, it's the whole time. It's been right here. Like, so that's usually where I'm an idiot. It's just like, I knew it all along. And then basically Wednesday we sort of stumble because I think it's a little bit of a revolution going on inside of us. I
Right.
think it's going to be a big deal. It's not, this isn't a subtle, this ain't your grandma's full moon in Scorpio. This one is
Right.
a bit more, this is profound. And I think with this one, the reason why it's profound is because I think you realize, oh, this is why I wasn't manifesting those sales a year ago. This is why,
Mhm.
this is why I wasn't this, or this is why I wasn't that. This is what I was telling the universe no. So you're going to realize where you were negating your own success from the way you treat yourself. on
Mhm.
the inside, right? So it's a moment, and then Mercury goes direct on Thursday.
Oh,
So basically,
oh, I
so
am
Mercury's
waiting for
like,
that.
oh yeah, well, and Mercury's waiting for you to have this epiphany. Like, so Mercury's like, thank you, finally, Gary. Can we now? So now for Mercury direct, now Mercury stations direct at 15 Aries, which is right on the North Node. And my expression for that has been, this is the way, like Mandalorian, stealing Mandalorians. This is the way. Like you're going to realize there's a path of least resistance, a path to take. So what ends up happening is you have this little kind of emotional breakdown with yourself between now and Thursday morning. And then Thursday night, Mercury goes direct, not in the morning. So you're still on a step 5 day. Thursday's a step 5 day. So you spend half the day still Mercury retrograded, but still step 5. Like, how should I think about my self worth? How do I frame it up? And then it's like, oh, here's how it is. Mercury direct, I know what to do. And basically, I'll just say this from Mercury direct on Thursday, that's like a gun firing off for a great American race. That is the Smoking the Bandit, if you remember that
Yeah,
series,
yeah,
buddy. Like
yeah.
that's the moment where from that point forward, once you know what you're worth, that was the last thing you needed to know. God's like, get on the field. I have nothing else to teach you.
It's
Like
funny
that's it.
we're on because it technically happens Friday morning, and Friday morning we're preparing for we're doing a pre-tour event in Tulum on Saturday morning 8 a.m., which is going to be
Step
the
7.
yeah step 7. Well, I think we'll still be in step 6 and then transition to 7 in the morning, I
Mm,
believe.
got you. Yeah, probably. I'm right now. I mean, in the Midwest, it's changing around noon today,
Yeah,
so we're about half
yeah.
day, half each
Changed
step.
10 this morning.
Oh, really? Where you are? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Noon where I am. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So that makes total sense. Yeah. So yeah. So Friday is like, so the mind is like, yeah, I'm worth it. I'm here to be. I'm worth it. That's basically it. I am worth it. Right. I think that's the conclusion God's waiting for.
Yeah.
You know. And then like on Friday, you're like, shit, I'm worth it. Can't believe it. Like so, step 6 is always like, man, I can't. 6 is you getting used to it. Like putting it on, getting used to it.
What is
And
7 going to be like this year in Taurus? Because 7 is different. I mean, 7 is Pisces and Taurus. So that's the day we're actually doing it. What would that feel like Saturday?
well, that's what I'm thinking. No, there's a sense of with Neptune in the high degrees of Pisces right now. Every time we hit a 7, there's there's like a real sense of this is my destiny, a real sense of destiny. Like this is my destiny. This is destiny. This
You
was here. We thought we were running the ship the whole time. We're kidding ourselves. It was gonna. It was. This was gonna happen. You
know
know.
what? I was getting the prep for this meeting and for this event. Small one is with Nomad Hotel in Tulum and Feed Tulum. It's a partnership, right? And I was getting ready for the meeting, and there's 3 Tauruses and me on the call, and I'm like, "Oh, that's auspicious."
Mm, yeah. That's funny. I have 5 on my team right now. I packed them with Tauruses. I'm like, we're going in the beef industry. We go manifest. All the Tauruses holding space. Yeah, we're pretty much a ranch, Serious Joy Ranch.
So we're gonna get this sense that we're in the right place, right time on Saturday, whatever that is, whatever we belong
Yeah,
to. And then on Sunday, it's gonna be a decision about something, right?
yeah. Well, I think you commit. I really feel like I shouldn't. Pardon this expression, but you drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
Like you.
that's okay. I say it all the time.
Yeah, I know. It led to a mass death.
Yeah. Hey, hold on.
Typical
That's not
cult
the only time
leader.
in history that we've done it. And
That's
so,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a very positive. It's like, yeah, around here, everybody drinks the Kool-Aid. And until they drink the Kool-Aid, they stick out like a sore thumb. We got good Kool-Aid, though. Ours is organic, it's
Yeah.
natural, it's
Right.
sweetened with fascial sweet, so it regulates your
Yeah.
blood sugar.
There you go. That's a commercial right there. And I would see the Kool-Aid guy jump out of the wall behind you, like, hey, the little HG Kool-Aid out there. I forgot what we were saying. You were saying we went down that path and making the
Decision.
commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a decision. I mean, ultimately, I think there's a moment. Okay, drink the Kool-Aid. That's what I was saying. Actually, is that I think you're being asked to accept something in yourself that your father would call you an idiot, your mother would say you're it's one of those moments when you're committing to being crazy, right? Like you're that commitment is like, to it's that moment. I think it's very important too because there is like, there is hierarchy with God. There's hierarchy. You have to be this tall to get these magic powers and this tall to make those magic powers. And if you want to create reality, you have to command reality.
Mm-hmm.
And commanding reality says, I am, therefore I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there comes a moment where you say, I'm going to be this. I don't care what anyone else says. I'm going to be this
So that I
inside of
think
myself.
I think that
Yeah.
ties into. I mean, you were. And by the way, if you're out there wondering if Chris and I just do this on this conversation, this is exactly what our private conversations are like,
Oh, yeah.
laughing
Yeah.
and joking. And
Yeah. This is hanging out with us. This is always how we
yeah,
are.
this is exactly how we do it. So in my own story, okay, because then Monday is I act, I am, I'm doing something about it, and
Right.
and there's
You put
this
it to work.
feeling, and I've been on this because since we talked the other couple of nights ago, I know we've had this conversation, but there's something big transforming in me, and
Hmm.
I wanted to call you back and say, like, where do you think this goes? Like, because I feel like I switched the timeline yesterday because I accepted there's been a there's been an honest conversation that I don't think I was going to be around too long,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, there has been because and but I didn't know what that meant. Like, I mean, am I going to Earth 3? And a bunch of other people don't go. Do I sprout wings and fly away? Do I evaporate? Do I pass away? But there's been an honest conversation about that because there's been a feeling, and it hasn't just been me. Other people have brought that feeling up to me, and somebody was here that's here right now. Gemini, Sag, Libra, Virgo, right? It's me.
Hmm.
Um, uh, was capturing some content, had a feeling about it, and
Hmm.
I'm like, that sound, but it doesn't sound ominous. It doesn't feel that way. And you've said this to me for years that something big is happening.
Hmm.
What
In
is it?
you or
Yeah,
well, my first thought on this is, Neptune is on top of your
yeah.
Chiron. I honestly feel like you're picking up of the death of your past life.
What
You're
does it mean?
remembering
Oh,
it. You're
yeah.
remembering. You're remembering the stage that you realized you had failed.
So that means I'm cracking through
You're
because it,
you're actually so in the last life. This is what you were telling yourself. It's all
right.
ending. People are confirming it's ending. I have failed. I don't feel. I feel. I would tell you in a second. I can feel death, like really
Yeah,
really
it
strong.
doesn't
I
feel
don't
death.
feel. There's no exit.
No,
There's
it
no
doesn't
exit. I
feel death. It was more like there was a conversation which was, like I aligned with my goal, and if I right now if I disappeared off the planet. There is no stopping what's already created. It's already done. So every day that I spend right now is a bonus and it's fun because it's like the pressure is off. Now it's like now I just get to have fun with it because
right.
fascial maneuvers and this journey. I mean, we're at 20. I mean, it's going beyond. It'll never stop. It'll be here to the end of time. People will write about it. This isn't a simple little thing. So in other words, I'm like, I did it, and I feel like I can go have fun for the first time in my life.
Yes. And I think if we went up to heaven, your executive assistant would be like, "No, you did phase one, Garry. That's phase one. Good job. We've been trying to get that since the 1500s. You're a little late in 2024."
So this morning, though, we had that moment last night, and I was talking to another version of myself, you
Hmm.
know, and and, when I had that discussion, it was because she's a documentarian. So we're talking about what
Oh,
got me.
interesting. Oh, how interesting. Interesting that you have this crew around you because it's forcing sort of ninth house contemplation.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
smoking a pipe like, My life. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, that's why it's relevant. But then I got up this
Yeah.
morning and something had changed. I felt it.
Hmm.
And like I
Hmm.
felt a different energy. I felt a different way of viewing it. And I have a way of checking in with the future. I try not to do it too much because I don't like to know. Um,
Yeah. The world's a
yeah,
surprise.
I mean, I'm pretty good at it.
Mm.
But I've learned that it's funner to just show up and then have the mystery of what's going to happen, not have the certainty. Because I used to want the certainty to feel safe. Now I'm like, I am safe. So now I want all the excitement. So it felt like today that restriction had gone, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm saying it seems like it's coming through that journey right on time
Yep.
to what's happening on Saturday and then Sunday.
Yes, totally. Because the restriction was holding back the big donors.
Yeah, yeah,
That's it. That's exactly what I'm saying.
mhm,
We had trauma, we had failed, we put restrictions on ourselves as a consequence of the trauma. We were born with the restrictions and the trauma.
yeah,
We were born with both of them. It was the posture, that we had like sort of died in and frozen into our consciousness. And I think what's interesting about this moment truly is that for the first time since Atlantis, we have cleared our trauma.
right.
I honestly, when I think about what's next, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I only wrote the script to this point. Like, is seriously in my like what I came down to do, I've hit my bucket list too. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, it's going to be another 10 years of making it stick around after I die. Like it requires me to
yeah,
be in the center.
yeah,
So I have to replace myself but but pretty much like, oh, wow, okay. I honestly think, I mean, now this is just gentleman's bet. I have the feeling that there's some sort of great rugby coming up or something. Like, I think we're going to be called to play our best, like to have to play. Like, building it was like phase one, but then now the Earth goes through something that all of us go through together, and we're all either in shape or not.
yeah.
You
Hey,
so
remember, round is a shape.
yeah, round is a shape. Yeah, well then we're all in shapes. Plenty of shapes. Hey, we could have a food shortage. We'd be okay for a long time.
But
Like we're
I
actually.
feel that. I feel that. I feel like the things that I have gone through, especially over the last 4 years and documented, were preparing me for. But I also feel like on the other side, since I was so well prepared, in other words, I did it now with consciousness of being ready today, without fear, without fear or obligation that I won't have to live the pain of the experience. I'll see the experience, but it's not going to be painful.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's what we fear the most is the pain. I mean, at the
Somebody
end of the day, that's yeah.
somebody got me up on here. Zero is a shape and a number.
Oh, oh, zero's a shape and a number. That's true. When is it safe to engage in new projects post retrograde? I would get your butt moving next Monday.
Yeah, I think Monday's a day.
Get your butt moving Monday,
So one
and
other thing that you say to
don't
me, and
stop
this
moving
is,
till September.
and do you still do readings for public?
Yeah, but I have a backlog at the
Okay,
moment, so
but people could contact you if they want a reading, right?
we can put on the list.
But
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
going to tell you from
Um,
my personal experience with you is that if I wanted to read with you, I would use the app for a year, or 6 months or a year, and then get the understanding of the learning and the teachings from the app. Because
yeah,
then the reading I can put into practice. Otherwise, it's something I hear, sounds
it's true.
good, and it's good. Yeah, I would suggest that people go train yourself and let Chris be your coach, not your soothsayer.
Yeah, that's actually why I built the service. I built the service because back in the day when I was getting sharp at what I do, I'd have clients at once a year. I'd see a client once a year. And I did that pattern for a while, right? Sometimes twice a year if the client was really invested in themselves. And they get back the next year, they hadn't freaking grown. They hadn't done it. Like, and I was like, damn it. Like no one, like it's not sticking, right? So you can get the whole reading knowledge, but unless you listen to it every day, the recording every day, and make it your way of life, you need the reminders all the time. Like that's the only way you get out of where you're stuck is I remind you, 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 I remind you. I'm always over your shoulder, always helping you with that. So we find actually people are completely changed in 3 months. So they feel complete change. So wherever they're, usually people are right on the cusp of a change in life. And so the
Yeah.
first 3 months, we help you through that
So
change.
basically, Serious Joy, the app, is like the fascial maneuvers of your life, your understanding of your life.
Totally. It's conscious maneuvering.
Conscious, it's
Exactly.
a conscious maneuvers.
Conscious
Hey,
maneuvers.
why don't you call it that?
Conscious maneuvers. I think I'll start using conscious maneuvers in my astromechanics.
I think so because that's what it was for me. It was like watching it when I first started using the app. I literally I wouldn't check it every day. I'd see you on the weekly forecast. I'd listen to one, you know, one or two, three pep talks a week, and then a couple of days would go by, and I'd look at the messages like, oh man, that makes sense. I should
Yeah.
look at these more often.
Right.
Then the
Right.
next stage was it would be at the end of the day, and I go, oh, shit, look, wow, that made sense. I wish I would have known that earlier today. Then the next stage was when I didn't feel a certain way, I'd be looking at it, and go, oh, that makes sense. And then the stage I'm at now is I'm already doing what that day is, and that was the your conscious reminders constantly throughout the day, 7 times a day, which allowed me to adapt myself. In other words, understand what it was I was feeling.
Totally. Pinging off of it. We're just sort of like serving as like a spiritual avatar of you, a ghost of you that we're constantly having you look at yourself and consider things about yourself. And that's really all it is. It's basically a conscious tour of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, hi, I'd like to show you who you are. Like that's our one of our lines. We know you better than you know yourself. I think it's profound, and it just goes deeper and deeper. So,
So,
as you
so
get on the
somebody asked a
merry-go-round.
great question. Do I need to know the time of my birth before I make the app worthwhile?
No, what we do in the app is there's a little checkbox that says "Do not know time," and then what the system does is run a sunrise chart, which is very accurate, which is basically putting the sun on the ascendant. So if you run the sun on the ascendant for your birthday, which is basically just after sunrise, that is basically the birth chart for your sign.
Yeah.
So if you're in Aries, it's the birth chart for your sign, and that will be about 80% accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't be inaccurate. It's just missing 20% of the information I would have gotten if I had the time.
Yeah.
But
So,
80% of the information, yeah.
so again, let's go back to, I want to go back to our talk the other night because I mean, profound. It was, you know, like I don't really talk to you about my chart very much.
Hmm.
And
No, he doesn't.
and you said that there would be, oh,
Yeah, I saw that. Like, I didn't even see your thumbs
no, I
up.
wasn't,
Yeah,
you know, thumbs up. That happens all the time for me.
that's weird.
Uh,
That's God
yeah, yeah, which
summoned in
means,
heaven. Like,
uh,
you don't watch your chart. Yeah.
yeah. So, you know what it was? I know what it is. I'm trying to figure out something. And I think he's saying, stop it. You don't need to figure this one out. It, because it's like, what does this transformation mean? So I'm not going to ask the question. I'm just going to let it happen.
Okay. Um. Yeah. Well, I already told you.
Yeah.
You just maybe didn't listen. I think, or didn't you don't realize the gravity of it yet.
Yeah. I don't think I feel the gravity of it. I mean, I'm going
You
from the
don't.
physical to the non-physical, but I don't.
Right. Well, you're talking about you were probably a freaking gladiator, dude. You've been like in your body, warrior, very grounded to earth probably for most of your lifetimes.
Yeah.
I don't think you spent past lives in mystery schools. I don't think you were meditating with Buddhas. You were selling Buddha statues. Like you, that's who you were. Yo, my man.
I commercialized the Buddha statue. It's like, hey,
You're
see
like,
the big Buddha? I got the little Buddha for
it's
you.
like, turns out the smiling one sells better. Like, this is my way of smiling Buddha because it outsold. So I think this is the last frontier for you. Like
Yeah.
metaphysics and how God turns into the body is the last arc of your mastery of earth.
That's, I mean, that's a lot of what Jason's doing here for me. I can tell you
Yep.
that.
Oh, that's what he studied in past lives.
Yeah.
That's where the trade is, by the way. Oh, oh, there's Buddha. There's our smiling Buddha. That's crazy. Love it. Yay. Hey, Buddha.
I
Master
didn't purposely
Buddha.
put him in here. That was put in here for me.
Yeah, Buddha is trying to reach out to you, man. You know, actually, that could be Buddha
Yeah.
giving you a thumbs up. It could be Buddha. I do believe so. This brings up an interesting, opens an interesting door because I'm not sure what's going to happen with the presidential race and whatnot. I'm not quite sure what's about to happen. If I'm going to be on the same earth as everyone, I don't know. I really don't have any idea. Like, if I have to go through that or not. But what I do feel the next journey is we're now taking our ascension into our own hands. And ascension means we have spiritual technology inside of us that can vibrate to higher planes, go to other dimensions, astral travel, come into our light body. We have a lot of cool shit we can do in our body that's well documented by other master
Yeah.
beings. We basically have these forces on earth that just want to keep us as slaves and just keep us working and not seeing that we are Buddha nature. But Buddha talked about it, Christ talked about it, all the great, beings who champion that, who basically human garage that shit a few hundred lifetimes ago. That's the next part of the journey, I think, for all humans. And I think we're going to be able to blink into new realities and begin to, like heaven, command the experiences into our realities that we seek to experience.
I feel you're right. I absolutely feel that that's an accurate statement. Like I get a sense because, and I know you're in the same boat. I get a sense because I've had things happen in my life, like in the Marvel Comics superhero, where all of a sudden something comes up and something happens as a result, and it's like, oh, where did that come from? Was that me? Yeah, I've
Right.
had a whole bunch of that like this last 18 months.
Same. And I think it's Pluto and Aquarius, if you want the astrological citation for it. I think Pluto and Aquarius is unlocking our wizard powers.
Yeah.
And I,
So what
I'm
does that
now of the
mean?
opinion
Like what are some of those powers? Like,
I was listing them like so. I think from what I've studied, and this is from even the Diary of a Yogi. He talks about it in his childhood. There are masters in India that can lay down asleep, and their light body can get up and go somewhere,
yeah,
and they can light body travel while their physical body is sleeping in a location, and they can have a conversation, and in the conversation with the person appear solid and real to the person and then return back to the light body upon will.
yeah.
Like that's one of the special powers we have built into our DNA right now.
I honestly, that's when you look at what the CIA's been doing with
Remote
both
viewing.
remote viewing and stuff like that, and remote projection, they've actually documented that fact. They actually run ops to do that, and we know that now.
Yeah, 100%. So there's powers like that. There's powers to go to other dimensions. There's powers to talk to, I've been slightly introduced to the higher dimensions as well. So we can experience in our higher version of us and go to those places. We can go, from what I understand, we technically can, reading Ascended Master stuff, which is where I get all this. Ascended Masters can go any place in Earth's history upon will, go to that location and reanimate life like the Star Trek deck that could the deck that can make anything. You can basically, when you're a master of 5D, you can go to a place on earth like France and reanimate the French Revolution and sit there and watch it.
The holodeck.
Yeah, the holodeck. Thank you. I couldn't come with the terms. Retrograde is killing me. But so again, this is part of our, and this is our vibration. And Saint Germain talks about what it is in his channeled works, which is that basically what you have to master is your ability to turn your body into a crystal, and to, using the crystallization of your body, raise or lower your frequency to the exact signature of space time. So apparently, the way God has organized space time is everything has a frequency IP address.
Yeah.
Basically, that you have this log frequency formula that is Titanic going down, that has a physical conscious address. You know what that frequency is, which is like maybe a dash of horror, some betrayal. I don't know what's in that frequency. There's some JP
Mood
Morgan bullshit.
scale.
I don't know. But there's like a flavor. And if you can get your crystal body to that energy and upon command, you appear in that scene,
So
from what I understand.
I have something that I do. So I mean, some of you on this chat have been with me in person. And Chris, I haven't been with you in person since I've been able to do this, but I can show the face of any lifetime that we've
Oh,
met.
oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so
That's a
there
good
are some people
parting
on
trick.
this channel probably who have had that happen. People have been around here, and it seems to have a resolving of of trauma or karma. But
Hmm.
but definitely, and at will, I can go to any one of those. There's Cynthia, yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When I was early practicing it, it freaked a couple of people out. There's a couple of them. They're like,
Oh, gotcha. Interesting. Well, I mean, I'm not quite sure what's happening there because we can get really deep, but you know,
well,
your brain is
it's
putting.
we only see, we don't actually. Have you ever seen that one where you look at the cross at the center and they have the faces going on the side? They look cartoonish or distorted or whatever. We
Yeah.
don't actually. The technical architecture of sight is we interpret energy, and so they had. I've been
Right.
reaching out to these guys who teach kids how to read with blindfolds, and then they play sports and they show them playing sports and like tennis and stuff like that with blindfolds. And so they're just interpreting energy. So this is only one way to interpret it, which we're habituated into.
Right.
That means that the programming that we do affects how we see the world. This is and like when I
Mm.
see you over and over again, I don't actually see you. I see a memory of you. This is true. I see a memory of you, like a computer screen, and it has cookies on it to this. Because if I go back to the page, I don't rebuild the whole page. It's the memory comes up, and anything that changes audits. That's why if you have an energetic change or a physical change, people go, "What happened? Did you change it? Did you your hair?" Because they're trying to resync the cookies to match the image that they have to the memory. And
Mm.
that's actually scientific. That's why when I show people their face after doing work, I turn it upside down for them because they have to rebuild the construction of their face and then they see the differences. That's a trick, by the way.
Mm. Mm. Interesting. Yeah, for Gary's next wizard trick, he's going to pop into your pop into your living room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, well, I know you pop into people's dreams all the time.
all the
Yeah.
time. Yep.
And
And have
you get that all the
conversations.
time, right?
And oh, all the time. And I do believe it's because there's a, I had an experience with a person who brought me to the ninth dimension, which I'd never been there before. It's like a meditative state. And one thing that it showed me was like how big my soul was. It's kind of complicated, but you have to go through it to believe it because it's like a movie in your third eye. But like most of me is not in on Earth. Most of me is not on Earth.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if
That's
it
not
makes
true. I
sense.
believe that
Yeah.
we're our consciousness is fragmented, our soul is fragmented into many different pieces. That's why I went and found all those doppelgangers.
Yeah, totally. I think you were obsessed with the pieces there. It was like a fun treasure hunt for you, which is funny. Um, yeah. So as a result, I think my higher self does a lot of work with people in their sleep, and people will tell me the conversation. They'll be like, "And you gave me this advice," and I'll be like, "Yep, that was me."
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what you would say. I've
Yeah, it's
experienced
like
that.
I've had where it's like, yeah, I mean, your mind either recreated it perfectly. Oh yeah, that's crazy doppelganger. That's crazy. That looks like an app. That's like Gary is a woman app is what
Yeah,
that looks like.
it's
That's how
like, but
crazy
look at
that is.
even the teeth, the ears, the eyes, even the coloration on the neck.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but you know the wildest part about that? That's not even the wildest part. The wildest part is this.
Oh, the chart. Oh my
All those
God.
numbers
Yeah.
are the same except for 2 degrees in the moon and the rising and the midheaven. But every other number, well, you can see the actual architecture. You can read the drawings. It's the same
You're,
chart, just turned
you know
sideways.
what you're breaking into here is the cloning industry.
Yeah,
You're
yeah. I mean,
decoding the clone. My clone, my freaking clone.
as soon as I did that, I started looking at my eyelids and looking for numbers.
Turns out you're just 1025444. Manufacture date. Yeah,
Hey, so
exactly.
somebody, I should measure side by sides. That's just one of them that I have that was that's so remote. But the ones that I have that I work with on in the 29 group, as I'm changing, they're changing too.
Yeah, yeah, that was one moment in time.
Yeah,
Right. Like it's since morphed since then. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think everything's in fluid moment. Yeah.
yeah. I've noticed that they've changed. Like Debbie Griffiths, her hair is, cut a little bit different, but it's the same white hair, same blue eyes, same structure of face, same structure of body. But when I started leaning up and getting more muscular, she goes, I don't understand it. I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't done anything. I haven't changed anything, but I'm getting more muscular, like I'm working out. My hair is changing color, and I'm like, oh, that was me.
That's yeah, that's maybe twin flame. That sounds twin flamey.
Well, I mean, it's the same astrology. I don't really say twin. I think that's not twin flame. That's just me.
Well, that's what twin flame is. It's you in two bodies.
Well, I seem to get that with Geminis.
Yeah, maybe. Well, you're Sag, so
Yeah.
your opposite is Gemini. I don't know. I do believe in the concept of twin flames. I have a theory of it. I think it's that when you're a soul, so Earth is very small. It's actually the conscious is very small. So if you have like a two, three, four planet past lifetime record where you've ascended off three or four planets, your soul is pretty big. Big is it's like the ball of light in heaven is really large, so big that all of it can't come into Earth at the same time. You can only dip your pinky in, and if you want more of yourself, you create a twin flame of you in there.
So what you're saying is me coming to Earth is like trying to squeeze a marshmallow through a keyhole.
Yeah,
It's
pretty much. Yeah, you definitely are a marshmallow. Yeah,
like, "Ah,
marshmallow.
it's not sticky.
It's pretty much. So what you do is like you marshmallow around the corner. Like yeah, you come in twice to also counterbalance. You can't bring all your talent. So
Okay,
I believe I met my twin flame, and I knew it was my twin flame.
so Cynthia is the exact same astrology as my sister's best friend, stepsister, call her. She raised me, and they even resemble each other. They're like dramatically and
Yeah,
exactly same. I mean, how much closer can you get? Like Cynthia has Debbie, and they have the same black hair, the same look, the same feeling about animals, the same kind of nature. They're just cultured differently. They were raised in different cultures. Cynthia's like hard there, yeah.
that is very interesting. I do see that, and I don't know if the Matrix just like has like it's just like a video game, or it's like a similar character but just with different clothes.
You know what so I wrote a piece about it. It's I don't know if it's in the app or in the programs, but it was my way of explaining it. I channeled a piece to explain it, but basically the way I explain it is you have a tree, you have a branch, and off that branch you got a bunch of leaves. And all those leaves are technically the same, but biologically they're the same, but they're actually different. They're
Right,
slightly
right.
different. There's slightly different wear, slightly different tear, and stuff like that. So it would make sense if I was consciousness. I would just want different versions of me out there to. Well, what happens? Well, I got this one. Well, what happens if this happened? What happens if it's God's story and all the different versions of the story thought out?
That's what many lifetimes are.
That's
So what
and
you're
that.
basically saying is like instead
Sure.
of having is yeah, I don't see reason why not. Like so it's like okay, one of me is doing hit World War II right now. One of
Yeah.
me is doing like Lincoln's
Yeah.
assassination. But then I put two of me in this
Yeah.
time.
Or
One is
in my
the
case,
French
like
girl and
dozens.
yeah, I think you did. Well, you're 29. You do go too far. We've talked about this. It's like, no, another Gary. Oh, another Gary. Like, geez, buddy, how many of your cells did you download to this matrix?
so So, final thoughts before we go. Anything that people should prepare for the full moon?
Yeah, you know, the secret sauce is if you're on the right side of your heart, if you are really being loving to yourself, if you're really being loving to yourself, the line will be obvious.
Yeah.
So the reason why you get booted up against the side of the head or something falls apart is because you are not being loving to yourself. That's really the only growth mark in spirituality is more love. That's it. It's that simple. More love. So you're not loving yourself somewhere,
So
and it's holding you back.
observe, and take this week to make the changes.
Yeah, observe and go through the metamorphosis. This is the metamorphosis. This is the red pill, blue pill. This is this is the moment here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You choose the pathway, and it's about choosing yourself. So, yep. I will see you. Oh, by the way, I have a new show out tonight called LOL, Leading Out Loud.
Oh
We
yes.
don't want to
Okay.
watch it. It's a group show. It's a
What
psychic
time's it on?
medium, a tarot. It's on 9 Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. 9 Eastern Pacific. It's on my Serious Story TV. on YouTube, and it's me, Devin Dewar, an angel reader, a psychic medium, and a tarot master, and myself, all looking at the headlines and the things of today.
That's gonna be fun. I gotta watch that.
We're gonna have fun. Yeah, we're just gonna talk shift.
Okay.
It's a shift
Thanks.
show. It's a real
Thanks,
shift
Chris.
show. All right,
Take
guys.
care.
Love you. Bye.
Bye bye.